being told the players are ready, so we're going to get down to our feature match. First one of the night here on MTGO Masters Season 2. Okay, so here we are in game 1 of MTGO Masters Season 2. Top of your screen, we've got Arne Huschenbeth on the Merfolk list, and the bottom, we've got Seth Manfield on Goblins. We're going to get that hand sorted for you all momentarily. But we can talk about Arne's hand, what looks like he's on the play and kept. What do you think about this, Ben?
Well, I guess it's very fitting that on our typo week, the first hand that we see is technically a 0-lander with Aether Vial. I mean, Sink into Stupor being a double-faced modal card means it is a land for this Aether Vial, but that feels very fitting, if not a bit risky.
Look, it's very fitting for modern at the minute. You don't need mana to cast your spells in this format. There's so many free ones. It's unreal. But it does mean we maybe will be a turn or two behind if we don't draw any more land. You see a load of 2-drops, which we all know that's like the 2-drops in Merfolk. That's where the Lords are going to be. Freeze, that's where the real big ones are going to come out in some of our powerhouses. But utilizing something like Dismember, because there's no blue removal spells in the format.
Right. And Dismember, I mean, even outside of the limitations of blue, just Dismember is a pretty heads up inclusion too. It's just so cheap and clean and can, effectively act as a combat trick if you are just relying on the stats provided by Lords.
Can someone in production just take a screenshot of this? This is the fairest magic anybody's seen in 2024. Both players with Aether Vial on turn 1. Exactly how we wanted this week to go. But Aether Vial on the stack, so we haven't drawn our card yet, so we don't know if we are missing that second land or not. It might just be, past the turn and kind of hope that this Dismember can hit something on Seth's turn. But
we hit
that's bad.
Oh,
we got
yeah.
there. We got there.
Yeah, and now it's all gas all the way down. The Silvergill Adept being able to draw a card and hopefully, continue the train of hitting lands. If we get that third land, then we have the Sphaloon on curve. Like now, I mean, we are swimming with the current on this one.
Oh, I love it. Give me all those puns. I want more. How many puns have you got to do with Merfolk Fish in the sea?
I got a lot. I'm going to try to be a little graceful with them, though. I'm going to be.
I'm fishing for it.
Natural. Oh, you fish. Okay, all right.
That's about as best as I can do. You're a lot more natural with this to me.
I'm glad that the Aether Vials aren't the only thing setting the tone for the show today.
I got you, my friend. I got you.
Yeah.
Look, we didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted to in Amsterdam, so I'm glad that we get to do it in the booth here. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have fun as we see a Phyrexian tower coming down. So we're seeing it from Arne's point of view. We don't know what's in the hand, and nor does everybody at home. So we can kind of play around and see what we would play around in these different situations. Doesn't look like we got a 2-drop.
Yeah, I imagine this is actually the one that I was going to call out, or the Mog War Marshal or the Goblin Instigator. One thing that Goblins is very good at doing is playing a single card that makes many cards, which can lead to situations where it's tough to push damage unless Arne gets the combination of, say, Master the Pearl Trident and the Harbinger of the Seas or Tide Shaper. And we hit the third land. This is world champion material right here.
Yeah. It's easy. Just keep a no lander and rip back-to-back lands that you need. So now you can curve off. We can get potentially 2 mana spells down, one with the Aether Vial, one with our 2 blue mana, while holding up a Dismember. We can get the Sphaloon down, plus we can, instant speed put something in with this Aether Vial. Lots of decisions here for Arne. And like, as much as this is a fun tournament, this is chilled out. We want everybody to have a little bit of fun. I can't help but think if these two go head to head, they're not giving up on the other one. They're not going to make it easy. You're not getting a free win on Seth Manfield. You're not getting a free win on Arne Huschenbeth. No matter what decks that they bring each week, these two are going to go head to head and give it their all.
It is pretty exciting to see world-class players playing stuff that's a little outside the norm, especially when you have these creature-based, just like purely board-based decks too. With Aether Vial, it's really bringing me back,
Yeah, we're just taking it back to everybody's roots, you know what I mean? We're just stripping it back. This is what good old fair magic is. We've got a little bit of a MH3 sprinkling in there. So they've got 2 different ways to come at this game, right? Like got Goblins game plan and we've got the Merfolk game plan. Two different strategies of getting our opponent's life totals down to 20. Talk to me about the Goblin side and like what the game plan is here.
So the Goblins deck can go incredibly wide off of some of the token generators that I mentioned earlier. As early as turn 2 with the War Marshal or the Instigator, but also having access to Krenko Mob Boss or Pashalik Mons, being able to just really swarm the board and just overwhelm. Seth is going to try to overwhelm Arne, and doing so while it feels absolutely miserable to try and trade with any of Seth's resources. Because it's just, I love Goblins, but wow, are they bad sometimes? Except for cards like Runevelt Hordemaster. You know, that's one of the exceptions. Is the Goblins is really a deck with a bunch of game pieces that are just they're there to do their job. And then your core engine pieces that really just ramp them up.
We're kind of seeing a little bit of the engine going on now. We've got the Phyrexian Tower sacrificing Goblin, which means we get the top card. If it's a Goblin, we can cast that this turn, as well as we can now see the hand of a few Marshals and is that a Matron or Mason? I can't remember which one. Matron, isn't Matron, where we can go search everything up. So we're kind of seeing what Seth's doing here, just kind of going to get that little bit of value. This is off the top of the deck, I believe. So we can go tutor a card and put it into our hand. But talk to me about over on Arne's side with Fish. What's the game plan there? You said Goblins is going wide. What do Merfolk like to do?
So for the Merfolk here, we're going to be a little bit more disruptive than some of the other typal decks. Obviously, because we're in blue, we're going to have a couple of flash threats and some tricky disruptive instants. But Merfolk can also go wide, except in this case, it might be a bit of a losing battle. So I got to imagine that Arne is looking to assemble a large enough board to present a heavy chunk of damage in just a couple of swings, paired with an island walking lord in the form of Master of the Pearl Trident and either Harbinger of the Seas or Tide Shaper, which didn't mention it earlier as being like probably one of the linchpins of this particular matchup. And the Merfolk Trickster. The Trickster in Arne's hand is also just this silver bullet that can catch Seth off guard by, shutting off a lord or shutting off a haste provider. And I think Arne's going to really rely on, being a blue player, for lack of better terms.
Well, here comes the MH2 card. Yeah, it was 2, wasn't it? The subtlety coming in. We see that floating around in these blue decks. Because as well as it is not a Merfolk, it is just that good. The big 4-mana 3/3 with flash, but of course we can ditch a blue card if needs be. And going up against, as you said, we're going against creature decks. Subtlety is going to be, this is where it's going to be shining.
And the flying on subtlety is not nothing either. I mean, we don't currently have a 4th land to be able to hard cast it, but being able to fly over a board of goblin tokens is going to be pretty clutch, I've got to imagine.
Well, I feel like subtlety, this is definitely the matchup for it, right? In the face of 2 Aether Vials. But it's, you want to play, we're playing fair Magic. You want to bring your unfair cards. Well, they're not going to line up particularly well in this instance. We do get to go a card deeper, though, because we are turning everything sideways here. It is kind of face up. We know exactly what Seth has got. And this is where I was talking about that combat damage. There's no combat tricks here. This is what I've got. This is how we're going to do it. And Seth is going to try and take out one of these Goblin Lords.
Yeah, it really depends on how much Arne wants to commit now, because the Master in play is currently a 2/2. Decides to dismember the Runevelt Horde Master there, which now the Aether Vial 4, I imagine the second Master, the Pearl Trident, just pushes it out of lethal, and now Seth has 0 creatures in play. And Arne's up with 4 creatures. This is... Whew.
Yeah, I think Seth was kind of like, well, if you've got it, you've got it. If you don't, well, I can live a little bit longer. Now, of just double Marshal and Matron in hand, Aether Vial on 3, Aether Vial on 1. Very powerful red mana as it is. Can we either get out from underneath this? Can we deal with the board on the other side? Can we survive another turn? But more importantly, can we actually win this match? Is probably what's going through his head right now. If anyone can do it, it's going to be Seth Manfield.
Yeah, I mean, you don't win 2 Pro Tours,
Nah.
potentially more actually, without being able to find your way out of spots like this. The double Aether Vial is pretty good for this as well, being able to instant speed the Matron and then potentially find a 1-mana Goblin to make another blocker, or a sack outlet in the form of Skirk Prospector, which can, do some shenanigans with the Mogg War Marshal.
I think we need to get through our deck a little bit more. So maybe we'll try and get a Horde Master here, maybe get that into play some way, and then start doing some of the shenanigans that you were talking about. But Seth is going to work it out as Arne takes him into deep water here. Do you like how I said that? Deep water, Merfolk
That was
fish?
that was incredible, actually.
I felt like I need to point out in case people didn't realize how good I am as a linguist when it comes to water-based puns. I wish I could see your face right now. No one can see it, but I'm sure your eyes are rolling in the back of your head like, why am I in the booth with...
Well, you have to be blunt with this delivery because Arnie's the one that's the master of subtlety right here.
Love it. I love it.
But I do agree. The Horde Master here is going to be, it's a case of like, are we playing to not die, or are we playing to like try and actually set up a win here? The Ringleader is another card that can help you churn through your deck, but we're kind of Aether Vial on 1 a little awkward, and the mana base here only have access to a single red mana, can be a bit tough as well.
Yeah, I feel like we need like at least another turn. Like if we can get another turn out of this, potentially we can try and combo win next turn if there is even a combo in here, or stabilize. But at the minute, we are really struggling, especially as the end of the turn. There's going to be another 2/2, quote 4/4, enter the battlefield with the tide. What's the second part of it?
The Merfolk Trickster.
No, the 1 mana that can turn something into an island.
The
Tide Shaper. Turning something into an island is just going to be, you can't block anything. GG's is going to happen.
Yes.
But we found a use for the subtlety. And it's just going to scoop it up there and then. That's how powerful subtlety is in this deck.
Poor Frog Tosser Banneret. I will say this, Frog Tosser Banneret getting subtletied, while it did cause Seth to lose the game there, that is still probably the most impressive thing a Frog Tosser Banneret has done since Lorwyn block draft.
I don't think I was playing back then, so I'm just going to take your word that is probably the most impressive thing it has done. But we get to look at the sideboards here of both players and how they're going to sideboard in this matchup. Obviously, Seth is now down a game, so we can kind of see him moving some cards in and out. Has we got anything to actually shore up this matchup?
I like the shore up. Was the shore up intentional?
Of course it was.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, previously you put the ball on the tee, and then you told me if I hit a home run, we get ice cream afterwards. So, I just got to double check.
Oh, we are getting ice cream afterwards.
Yeah.
The question is, what is your favorite ice cream?
Ooh, Amsterdam really got me on hazelnut, which
hazelnut, right?
Well, yeah, but they call it hazelnut.
Do they? Okay. What about clotted cream? Did you try any clotted cream while you were over this side of the globe?
Oh, I've had some clotted cream in my life.
That's my favorite.
That was
Chat, let us know, what's your favorite ice cream type? What do we need to be getting after this show? I think I'm just gonna go old classic, just chocolate, like Nutella chocolate or something. Maybe that's where I'll go. But now we're being able to see what Arne is kind of bringing in and bringing out here. Looks like we're trimming on at least one subtlety. And I forgot Harboring is actually one of the new MH3 cards that's coming around. This card is it's wrecked me more than I would like it to wreck me in Modern. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know why it is, but when I look at this card, I don't have that immediate snap of like, oh, right, they're all islands. Whenever I see it, I still think, oh, they're all mountains.
Yes, I do the same thing.
To the moon. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. I'm still dying to it. So, the specifics are moot, but it is pretty clutch in here. The combination again of the mana denial or the mana the color screwing that Merfolk can do with the thieving skydivers coming in to maybe steal Seth's Aether Vial is pretty slick.
You reckon the Scornings is like this feels like a great matchup for them, but is it just not because Aethervials and Caverns are in these lists? Is it even a good sideboard card in general? Because most people, I imagine, if it's a if we're bringing these Kindred decks, they're going to be using Cavern as O's.
Yeah, I feel like there are very few decks where Stern Scolding is going to do what you want it to do for exactly the reasons that you mentioned. And I feel that in this case, especially in this matchup, Artie's going to be looking for creatures like board based things where you can make a case where like, ooh, I'll catch them with a Stern Scolding if they don't have Cavern or Aethervial. As we see, Seth's hand has two or one copy of Cavern of Souls, two copies of Cavern of Souls, a lot of copies of Cavern of Souls.
Yeah, it looks like we've gone down to 6 over on Arnie's side. This member is the draw for the turn, but does have a couple of land this game at least as to start off, and a couple of lords, which realistically it just looks like a standard Merfolk hand to me. Like this is what they want. I want my Aethervial turn 1. I want a Lord turn 2. I want my Mutavaults so I can turn them into creatures a little bit later on. Down over on Seth's side, I'd probably say we've got a little bit too much mana going on.
Yeah, Goblins though can be one of those decks where if you hit your land drops, hopefully you're just going to hit, one of your Goblin ringleaders or your Horde Masters or a Matron. Like it is not ideal having this much mana, but also knowing that if you draw, one of your let's get this party started cards, well, you can then get the aforementioned party started.
Love it. Love it. I suppose, like, I'm looking at it, like, top deck wise, I feel like Goblins probably does have better top decks than what you said. We've got a lot more ways to either, look through our deck and find things, or reveal the top of our deck and bring multiple cards in our hand. And even just having, like, drawing a Krenko in itself, if it goes unchecked, we know how crazy that can get and out of hand. So let's see, as long as we can cast them. And quite on cue, here comes another 2-drop into the hand.
Yeah, more or less every goblin in Goblins is going to be either a cheap accelerant, which is going to be beneficial, your hierarch and your banneret, or it's a 2-for-1. You have creatures that like make multiple creatures, or the trawler, not the best 2-for-1 in this matchup, but even then there are going to be spots where exiling a graveyard while having your body is going to be pretty huge. And Merfolk just has draws where like you just have a 2/2. Like if this Master the Pearl Trident hits the table this turn, it's just a bear.
It's just a bear. It can get a bit scary though. It can become a big. I'm just going to say polar bear then to try and link it in with the sea, but but let's not do that. Let's not do that. I'm looking at a trawler, and I'm still kind of amazed that this is a goblin. Like nothing on it shouts goblin to me, yet it is creature type goblin.
Goblins kind of like to hang out in the muck, which that's the one pass I'll get them. I'm not on creative or anything. I'm just a normal man over here. But yeah, I don't know. If I were a goblin, I'd probably be okay hanging out in the slop.
In the slop. And also, it's good to see that both MH3 cards on both sides, these kind of spell lands that do have a downside of having to pay 3 life in both decks. So utilizing MH3 in these decks, even though realistic on the face surface of them, great when you need it, when you need a land. If not, and just in this instance, it's just a free one. That's fine. That can close the game. That's a 5-turn clock while my opponent's at 15. That's what it says on the tin.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this trawler. I mean, Sink of the Stupor, also just the ceiling on that card is huge. But Goblins
in
is
more eternal formats, yeah.
It's a deck that could just kill with whatever. And the fact that your land has 3 power attached to it is pretty exciting.
Comes another lord here. If a vial on 1, subtlety in hand, and ringleader top deck on the other side to Seth Manfield. Right, now I've got to remember, how does subtlety and ringleader work with Cavernous Souls? I think it still hits it, but we'll find out in a second.
Yeah, subtlety I don't believe actually it doesn't actually counter
No.
the spell.
It's not like a force negation type effect. It's
No.
just while it's on the stack, bounce it back. I think Seth's kind of decided, does he want to start off with this? Does he want to do this first? Is there anything we should be playing around? Do we want to generate extra mana in case we hit multiple things off this ringleader so we can cast them in one turn? And considering we sacrifice that 1/1 token to add 2 black mana, that makes me think that is where we're going to go with this. Might get a 2-for-1 out of Arne here with that subtlety.
Yeah, you're kind of pushed into doing this because if you don't, then Seth has the potential to draw, I mean, even up to 4 cards if we're really, really giving it. But now we're just left over with the 2/2. The Mutavault can help us kind of push
Yeah.
some advantage, and Merfolk does have some draws, like a Sfealoon is going to clog up the board here if we find a copy of that, or Harbinger. Harbinger is absolutely backbreaking if it ends up being the draw.
Oh my word.
Also pretty good.
Sidebinder coming off the top there. This is great. So now we can deploy both these threats in our hand, thanks to Aether Vial going up to 2. I'm not even going to ask, but we all know. Everybody that's played Magic knows that ringleader went back on top of the deck. There is no way it did not with this hand of just lands for Seth. And already tapping it. We can't even see it in hand yet, but we all know it's there. Ringleader going to come down. Ringleader 2/2 haste. You get to look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put all Goblin cards revealed this way into your hand. Put the rest in to the bottom, but that's going to get stifled, so to speak. Here, that's a huge line, huge play there, and a great top deck from Arne.
Yeah, if you're a Goblin fan, you hate to see it.
I hate to see it.
Yeah, you hate to see it. And now, I mean, Arnie's at quite a bit of a life deficit, but after this Master of the Pearl Trident hits the board, you got a pair of 3/3s. Ooh, and we got a nice little blowout here with the block on the Tidebinder.
This is the perfect though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so awkward. Okay, and go. Can we rip another huge top deck here for Arne Huschenbeth at the top of your screen? Remember, this is game 1 of match. No, this is game 2 of match 1 of the tonight. Currently, we do have Arne up 1 game on the powerful Merfolk list. Don't think that's anybody's surprise at this point. It is a deck that holds its own against not only these sort of kindred decks, but every deck in Modern. And we know how much of a powerful format that is currently. With
it's a scary deck, It's a deck that kind of people will joke about it here and there. And it's when it shows up in Modern or even shows up in stuff like Legacy. But it's terrifying. If you stumble and they have a gotcha moment like the Tidebinder, I mean, we haven't seen it in the match, but the 2-mana Lord, Voldalian Hexcatcher, it could just be lights out.
And one of my good friends was actually on last season as well. Nikachu MTG, the Merfolk Master himself, is always putting up good results. Seen him take down a few tournaments already this year with Merfolk. Doesn't play anything but. And last season, when we had a stipulation that you couldn't play like X of the same cards every week, like once you've used it, it's done. Was able over 4 different separate weeks to bring 4 different Merfolk lists and still put up great results. It's a beautiful thing to see. As now everything's getting turned sideways here for Arne at the top of our screen.
Yeah, you side out the Master of the Pearl Tridents, you bring in the Lord Atlantis, you side out the Lord of Atlantis, you bring in the Merfolk Mistbinder.
I can't remember what it was. There was a 1-mana changeling artifact creature that was used one week, and he actually was able to win that week. And I can't. Chat, help me out. What was the name of that card? But it was in the winning
Universal
list.
Automaton.
That's look. You're all over it, my friend. Yeah, Universal Automaton for the win.
I am Scryfall.
Oh, okay.
I wasted my life memorizing every Magic card, my guy. Like, don't you worry about it. I got you.
Okay, so if I throw out what a card can do, you'll be able to name it.
Probably.
Is that what you're saying?
Probably.
Okay. Chat saying it's not a waste. I'm gonna test you on this. I'm gonna think of a random card that I'm gonna have on my. In fact, I've got a pile of cards on my desk because I am a Magic player and we don't actually put them away. We always keep them in piles.
Not to backseat someone that played weeks ago, but I am a little curious that Nikachu didn't go for Moth Dust Changeling, which is a 1-mana 1/1 changeling that you can give flying by tapping another untapped creature you control. It seems, like a little
Wasted opportunities. I'll DM in after this.
Yeah.
I'll tell him. I'll be like, hey, what you doing? All right, so we did draw another ringleader, which is a huge draw here. Arguably, what's exactly what Seth needs and could do with hitting 4 goblins off the top here to restock his hand and give himself the best possible chance to get back in this game. We've got Seth is at 5, but Arne is only at 8. And on the battlefield, we've got 6 points of damage. If we can hit a Lord off this, we've got the land drop for the turn.
What do we got?
Don't tell me we whiffed. We did not whiff. We did hit a Lord. Now, do we have to play around anything on Seth's side? Can we afford to play around anything? Aether Vial is at 2. There is 1 card in hand for Arne.
If we put out a chump blocker here, we are going to survive. We would go to exactly 1.
We actually get 2 chump blockers here, right? Because this is going to generate another token. They don't have haste, but currently on the board now, we've got 10 damage. So I think we're going to a game 3.
No, sorry, I meant on Arnie's side. Like if Seth is, thinking about whether or not to ship everything, including the banneret here, like you could make a play around Arnie having another 2-drop to mana vial here, or not mana vial, Aether Vial here. But yeah, you got chump blockers. Let's just ship it.
I love it. Okay, well, that's it. We're going to a game 3. I love game 3s of Magic, especially here on MTGO Masters, because we get to see just more of these cool decks. We don't get to see this too much at the minute. Arguably, there's some, talk about the modern format, but on this show, we're trying to give you the best. We're trying to make it fun for everybody. So we're going to see on the screen how everybody's sideboarding. But while we do that, I'm going to test Ben Wheeler's knowledge.
Oh, no.
I find out I've just pulled a random card out of a deck box that I have in front of me. Tell me what this card is by what it does.
Sure.
Card name comes into play tapped with 2 depletion counters on it.
Okay.
Tap, remove a depletion counter from said card. Add 2 black mana to your mana.
Oh, why that's Pete Bog, my dear boy.
Oh, you are so good at this, my friend. All right, let me see if I can find another one. Just while we're setting up. Okay.
Yeah.
Draw 3 cards, proliferate, sorcery speed.
Is that Vivis Surgeon's Insight?
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I just wanted to point out that I'm a Poison Storm player.
I was going to say that's Poison Storm you're pulling out right there.
Yeah, it is. That's the deck box I got in front of me. Love to see it. Okay, so go look at having a little look at this. They're sifting through their cards, making sure they've got exactly what they need for this. Was Arne now on the play? Being on the play with an Aether Vial deck seems like that's pretty favored, in my opinion.
Yeah, getting that turn 1 vial down is huge here. And we're also seeing a couple of the Stern Scoldings being considered too. I mean, being on the play, that card is going to be much scarier. Looks like they made it, but
is this is some iffy keep here for Arne if he's going to keep that. It does have Aether Vial plus Mutavault, but I feel like this is the sort of hand when you sign up to play Merfolk, you're going to be accepting these sort of hands. You are on the play, which we spoke about is a bit of an advantage, and it looks like we do have 2 keeps. Chat's asking, can you identify cards from flavor text?
Oh, maybe.
Okay, well, why we do go for these early turns of our both players just playing land Aether Vial? Let's test you.
Okay. Sure, why not? Sure, why not?
I'm just like dance for me a little bit more. Okay, we got the Ignoble Hierarch coming down. Arguably my favorite 1-drop, by the way. But what is this card? A reliable general purpose toxin in a handy way to save on belt space.
That's Pick Your Poison.
See, he's good, Jay. He's good. Good. Can we get a show of just this? By the way, if I ever have to do like a pop quiz to do with Magic, I am teaming with you, my friend.
Oh yeah, like, I will get the whole table free beer from Magic Trivia. Don't you worry. That is
we're in.
That's the Wheeler guarantee.
Me and you in Vegas. Let's do this. I'm down for it. Okay. So it's kind of setting up a little bit. We missed on our second land drop here for Arne at the top of your screen, but Aether Vial does go up to 1. But because Seth was able to get a second land drop down, has got a noble on the battlefield, now we've got a reducer doubling up on another Ignoble Hierarch, which means the exalted trigger here is going to be +2/+2. It's a 3 damage coming across.
Yeah, we're in the spot where even if Arnie misses the second land drop here, we have the redraw on the Silvergill Adept. But if we do get our draw, our land in either draw step or from the Silvergill trigger, I think we're in a pretty reasonable spot.
We missed.
Oh, you hate to see it.
You do hate to see it. I do want to see how good Harbinger will be in this sort of state. Now that we've kind of had the ignoble hierarch draw, I think it's not going to be as good. But if this was just like a just lands situation, there's a chance we could. We don't quit Blood Moon. What are we calling it? A sea moon. What's the blue side of effect? Are we calling?
There's got to be some kind of maritime term that refers to the moon. Moon in the morning. Merfolk players warning. Moon Uncharted 3, Merfolk players glee.
Oh, Flood Moon. I love that. Flood Moon.
That's very good.
Yep. Shout out chat. Chat's great. Also, chat's also throwing loads of flavor text into chat to see if you can guess all of them. Maybe if we've got a little bit more time later on chat, we'll throw out there. But yeah, I'm sticking with Flood Moon if that does come down. But right now, we've got Seth just emptying the hand and literally flooding the board full of goblins as we pass the turn back. Arguably, these goblins aren't doing much. They're just 1/1s at this point. But if we can hit one of our big spells off the top, we can turn this easily into a win. As Aether is going to get activated. Oh no, sorry, it's going to get untapped and be able to be activated again.
There is kind of an interesting decision of how desperate you get to hit your land drop here, where you want to take up your Aether Vial to 3 to get down any of the 3 drops in your hand here for Arnie. But you could, with the triggered ability on the stack, put the Silvergill into play. I think it's just better to go up to 3 here because you can produce a body that's large enough to help, clog up the board here, or to get the Harbinger down so that you can play the Tideshaper on as a 1-mana 2/2.
I was going to say that. I was like, if we get the Harbinger down, it actually turns our land into an island, which is what we need currently. So we can add 2 bodies to the battlefield, but they're not great. There are no lords on the battlefield yet. So it would just be trading with a bunch of 1/1s on the other side if we do get to that combat damage. I think we're just going to pass the turn. Make Seth kind of guess what could be in the hand here. A little bit of Echo. Now, that's a mechanic we don't see much of anymore.
Thank God.
Oh, you're not a fan? Not a fan of the Echo?
I don't really like having to pay for a thing twice. Typically when I like playing Magic cards, I like paying for them and then getting them. And then not receiving a call the next week being like, hey, your payment on your 1/1 goblin is due.
You don't have to pay it. You know what I mean? It can be a bit of one-time fun if you need to be. It's all good. And still no land here for Arnie. And now no ability to play that that adept, as you were mentioning.
Yeah, this is
What's this, 5 power?
Yeah, we're attacking with a 5/5 from the Exalted here. You could theoretically vial out enough stuff to make a double block here.
That's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm like, do I do it just to get that off the battlefield? And then I don't know if that's the problem, though. I think the problem might just be the hierarchs here with the Exalted. Turning these 1/1s into 3/3s, which means that they don't trade with anything on the other side at this point. But then these are both creature decks. They need a large resource of creatures to do their game plan. Can we just afford to take the 5 damage at this spot?
I imagine the game plan here is vial out the Sphaloon, and next turn is when we start deploying the double Merfolk to give, because Sphaloon is going to become indestructible if you have, I think, 2 other Merfolk in play. Correct. So we are able to big body block like a swarm attack, but also have indestructible to sustain the Exalted damage here.
And it's really in the tank about this. And is going to activate the Aether Vial before blocks. I think it is Sailing that is hovering over currently. The big 3/4 body does give ward to other Merfolk. Can't activate the Mutavault Well, actually, no. We can block and activate the Mutavault, turn the Mutavault into a Merfolk itself.
Oh,
To make the
perfect.
two. He's pretty good at this thing magic. This Arne guy. He's pretty good at this magic stuff.
He's not bad. I've seen him win a match or two.
I've seen him win lots of it here in
Yeah.
Europe. Always at the top tables events that I'm casting. And, you know, for good reason, saying that this is where he doesn't activate the Mutavault. I'm just like, every talk, but no, he does activate it at the end of the day because Mutavault can use the mana to activate itself. So it's just going to be a little bounceroo there, 5/5 into the 3/4 indestructible land. And then it's just going to be go from Seth Manfield. Arne needs land and needs it now. Aether, definitely not going up to 4.
Nope.
Well, maybe we want to. We can get salties. We can use it for salties, but never say never. Land off the top. Cavern of Souls.
Thank God.
Now we got to get. I think now we got a game. We've got the more powerful cards in our hand, and of course, the old Ado saying is, "Screw beats flood." Is that going to be a case here?
I think we're at the point where Arne has so much juice in the tank that we can lead to just, it's not going to be as immediate of a takeover of the board here. But between the Harbinger and the Master of the Pearl Trident, like we can rack up enough damage that we can get some unblockable, like an unblockable Alpha Strike within the next couple of turns. But looking to develop the Curse Totem here, because again, we have the Vial. We can put out the Harbinger here to brick all of Seth's lands into islands, and the Curse Totem is going to be able to shut off the Ignoble Hierarch. So we are more or less just shutting Seth off of casting any new spells until we find a basic land here.
This Merfolk hate bears or something? What? Where was this sideboard plan? I didn't see.
Always
this
has been, Will. Always has been.
So I'm looking. You know, you said we need to draw a basic. What if we don't have any basics?
Tap the Exile's Dream, then.
I'm looking, and there are no basics in the deck. There are 4 Aether Vials. That's it. That's
okay.
Like, other than that, we've got, Skirt Prospector, but can't activate that for mana. We now can't use the Hierarchs. Yeah, we're in trouble.
So Seth isn't completely locked out from playing Magic the Gathering. Needs to find an Aether Vial here, but the timing, this is where it gets a little tricky, especially because Arne has drawn a backup Harbinger of the Tides to provide some additional insurance in case, something happens where the first Harbinger is at risk. But the attack with all of our creatures leads me to believe that that is not the case. That is not a worry. We are now entering the I'm going to try and kill you step of the game.
We've locked them out. Now that's the beatdown patch, and the fact that we're able to turn that Harbinger sideways, that tells me, okay, you must have another one in hand. That makes my life even more awkward. Yeah, and Seth's like, you locked me out. That's it. Take it down. We're going to see Arne Huschenbeth taking down match number 1 here tonight. And in I'm going to say a pretty stylish fashion. I didn't see it was going to be the hate there version.